Crazy, man.
Mm,
There we go. And the Heat might mess around and go to the finals,
oh, yeah.
which well, right now they winning 16-13.
Wow.
Jimmy's out though with the ankle, but they already got the split. So the Heat might win. This is crazy. I still think the roster is not that good, but you know,
That's what I'm saying.
we, we, we've been
When we
able
gonna
to.
start giving credit to this stuff? But I mean, yeah, I don't. They fooled me.
Yeah.
They fooled me.
They're fooling me so far. But what's going on, everybody? What's welcome. Excuse that Miami Heat pre-video talk. My name is JV Wins. That's Dogon SF as usual. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. Appreciate you for watching. Appreciate you for joining the tribe. Before we get into this week's topics, as always, I want to say, man, hit that subscribe button. Follow us, follow along as we continue to grow this community, man. We certainly appreciate everybody supporting that logical content. Go ahead and make sure you hit that like button whenever you're watching any of the videos on this channel. But most important, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can help us as we continue to, evolve what we do here. A lot of interesting, fun things coming down the way. So we appreciate everybody who's joined us along for the ride. We certainly appreciate the support. We enjoy doing this each and every week, and so we are very thankful for everybody who is a part of what we do here. Whether you're just hitting a like button or leaving an actual comment, or even if you're just viewing the video, whatever you like to do, thank you. We certainly appreciate it. Um, so, with that out of the way, we'll go ahead and get started with this week's videos here on May the 2nd. First thing that we're going to talk about is an interesting tidbit from Iyanla Vanzant and Eboni K Williams. So, Iyanla Vanzant, I know Iyanla Vanzant from Fix My Life. That's what I know her from. So she's for anyone who doesn't know who Iyanla Vanzant is, she's a prominent fixture on anything Oprah related. So she's often featured on programs on Oprah Winfrey's own network, which includes her own show, Fix My Life, where she helps to coach people on various things like personal growth, relationships, so on and so forth. Very much centered around the Black community. She deals primarily in the Black community. And the woman that you're looking there on the right side of your screen is Eboni K Williams. She's a lawyer, but she's also the host of a show on Revolt called State of the Culture. So Eboni K Williams hosts a show on Revolt TV called State of the Culture. She had a guest on her show. That guest was Iyanla Vanzant. They got onto the subject of relationships and how women are outpacing men and how there just aren't enough women anymore who can measure up to what women's needs and expectations are for being a partner. And it was an interesting exchange. So I figured we'd talk about it for a segment on the channel. We thought that Iyanla had some pretty interesting retorts to what Eboni K Williams had to say. Eboni K Williams is the one who believes that there just aren't enough men out there who can measure up. And Iyanla is basically saying, hold on, let's pump the brakes on that. So we'll go ahead and, first of all, for context purposes, of course, we're going to share a little bit of this here so that everybody can get the gist of what was said. This clip is 6 minutes long. We will not play the whole thing. We'll probably just stick to about 2 minutes or so because that'll provide all the context that anyone needs. And then we will talk about what each of them had to say afterwards.
We're getting those terminal degrees, those JDs, MD, PhDs. We also are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs, along with Latina women in America. Pew Research said that women are now out-earning men yes. in 22 yes. of the largest cities in America, including where I live, New York, DC, LA, you name it. When we talk, and I know that you've said that you cannot teach a man or tell a man how to be a man. So I will not ask you to indict men in this question. But I do want you to speak, Iyanla, to how women need to I don't know, position ourselves so that we can be in our divinity, so we can have our crowns right, how we can create and not build, when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources. And some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date
if he owns the bus? If he owns it. If he owns the bus.
See, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. Okay. Because the standards and requisites, and I'm not talking about him laying on his sofa playing video games all day. I'm not talking about that. But the standards and the criteria that we use to measure men is off for who we are as women and who they are in this society. I would date a bus driver if he loved driving the bus, if he was a man of integrity, if he was good to his mama, if he treated me well, I would date a bus driver. But we think that it's another human being's responsibility to give us what we need instead of us building together. I can build with a bus driver. I'd have my little stash over on the side in my prenup, but I can build with a bus driver. So I think some of the criteria that we look for in the reality of today keeps us unhappy, keeps us angry, keeps us imbalance. And then when the men show up, we want to beat them up because they're not living up to our standards and criteria. And it's not working, beloved. It's just not working. So it's not that it's bad or wrong. It's obsolete. It's obsolete. We have to come up with a new way of being. I don't believe in carrying a man. A man has to do for himself. My son got his first job.
Okay. Wow. So obviously we can continue to play more, but I think that pretty much summed up what the general premise of their conversation was. So I've heard this often, and there's of course plenty of podcasts, YouTube shows, streaming shows, TV shows where they talk about these different types of subjects, and you'll hear this. Is not the first time I've heard this. I'm pretty sure it's not the first time that you've heard this as well. This notion of men not measuring up, not earning the incomes, not doing this, not doing that. So this mentality is more widespread than you would think if you think that this is more of an isolated type of thinking. But, there you have it. That was what Eboni K Williams had to say, and then that was Iyanla's response. So what did you think about that exchange?
It was priceless, honestly, because this Ebony young lady here wasn't expecting to get hit with a truth bomb so early. I guess she figured she would just talk about the topic and not make it a little personal for her. And then, of course, she was shocked and she gave a thought answer. After she gave her thought response, we could play the clip again, but with it muted. And you can see the bot in her trying to recalculate everything that she was like, damn, just so much truth. And it goes against her bot code. And so she was having cognitive dissonance the entire time because in a subtle way, she was advised that you're part of the problem. And the reason why you can't find a good man is you don't know what a good man is. And so I love the response. And what was even more entertaining was her facial expressions as she kept getting slapped over the head with some truth. So how about you, bro? How do you feel about this?
So this exchange reminded me of the conversation that we had. I think it was when we talked about Aisha Diaz, the Instagram model, and how she, looks forward to holding down the fort when her man goes to prison. And you were saying that spoke to her responding to her primal energy. So for her, it isn't necessarily about a man going to prison, but rather that same guy who went to prison, there are certain characteristics about him that her primal's nature responds to. And therefore, she is, attracted to men like that. But we basically got into a debate between the two of us about primal energy. And I, for the most part, agree that a lot of the things that we respond to do have a lot to do with what we gravitate towards instinctually as human beings. And since men and women are fundamentally different, men and women fundamentally respond to different things from a primal sense. So the thing that makes men want to date OnlyFans chicks and porn stars and Instagram models and influencers, that's the same machination that makes women want to gravitate towards guys who do certain lines of work or make certain amounts of money, so on and so forth. I will agree with you that is a primal response. I think at the end of the day, women who harp on things like income on the surface, but beneath the surface, that's a response to their primal need for a man who is able to provide for them.
Right.
However, you and I diverged when it came to the conversation around primal responses, because I believe that primal energy has become warped by socialization. And the reason why, and this is an example of why I think primal energy has been warped by modern socialization. So in this exchange, Iyanla asked Eboni if she would date a bus driver. And Eboni responded by saying, I would date, if he owned the bus, I would date him. Right. So now again, I'm gonna continue with the example of a bus driver, because that was the analogy that was presented in the interview. I don't know the ceiling on what a bus driver can do. I don't have that knowledge right in front of me, but let's just continue with the example. If it was all about what Eboni K Williams and others who think like her respond to in terms of a man who's earning the income, and Eboni even mentioned they're not earning the income when she was setting up Iyanla for her response. If it was all about the income, then whether he owned the bus would be irrelevant. How much money is he making? It's the same thing as the example of my sister's friend, and the Walmart example I brought up. You brought up wanting a guy who's ambitious. Okay, is it about money or ambition? Is it about income or ambition? If he runs 3 Walmart stores, he's probably making great money, and he's ambitious enough to climb the Walmart ladder. But you've already admitted you wouldn't date him because it's Walmart. That to me isn't primal. That to me is socialization. Because if it was primal, it would be, how much is he earning? What can we build with that? What can we do? Okay, I don't care if he works at Walmart. I got him. She said, no, I wouldn't. No, she basically admitted she would only date a bus driver if he owned the bus. Or maybe if it was a guy who owned a bus company, a busing service. But what if it's a dude who is driving buses, but equates to what you earn or is out earning you? I think women like her, and this is where I think that this whole thing has gotten twisted, they would not date those men because their primal senses have become warped by modern socialization.
Absolutely.
And they believe it has nothing to do with it. But see, they make themselves seem redeemable by bringing up income often. And it has nothing to do with how much money any particular man is making. It's all about what he does and how that makes you feel. So, the manosphere, when the manosphere opines on what a lot of women think these days, guys who are Kevin Samuels fans, guys who watch the Fresh and Fit podcast, those types of guys, guys who are kind of trying to understand how they can be successful in this situation. and they follow content like that, because people like Kevin Samuels, God rest his soul, used to put women like Ebony on blast for their warped sense of reality. The reason why, guys who ascribe to the manosphere lament on these types of things is because we consume enough content on a daily basis to see that this kind of thought process is more widespread and rampant than you might think. And it's easy to talk about things like income when the truth is it has nothing to do with about income. It's about the intrinsic value that we've attached to certain things that guys do. It just so happens that a lot of the things that women say they look for go hand in hand with a guy who makes a lot of money. So like they'll bring these chicks on Fresh and Fit and ask them, what kind of guy do you look for? Or rather, Eboni K Williams will say, does he own the bus?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's easy for you to say, does he own the bus? Because in all likelihood, if the guy owns the bus, then he's going to make the requisite income to cancel out any criticism that you have on his income. But if you flip it and you say, what if he makes this much money and drives a bus? Is he good enough for you? That would really expose her for what she really thinks. Because in her heart of hearts, the truth is she wouldn't like that guy. He has to be the guy who's the owner. And my whole thing with this type of conversation is that's fine. Let's just call a spade a spade. It's not about income. It's not about income. It's about specifically what he does and the value that you attach to that. Is there a correlation between that and the income? Yeah, but the initial driving factor is the other thing, not the income. You're just conveniently using the income to make yourself seem redeemable, because who's going to say that a woman saying a guy needs to make more money is crazy? Of course, no one's going to say that. Everyone would agree with that. That's a sensible enough take, but it has nothing to do with income, in my opinion. It's about all of these other things, and it's about programming and conditioning. And the reason why I thought about primal energy and the conversation that you and I had about primal energy is because this to me exemplifies how primal energy has become warped by socialization. But on a surface level, I agree with you 100%. Women do respond to their primal senses. I just think that for a lot of people today in general, men and women, because guys do the same thing. Like, why isn't a woman who keeps her body up and is pretty enough for a lot of these guys? They have to go to the Instagram models and the chicks who do OnlyFans who've had surgeries, right? Why do you have to take it that far? It's because as men, a lot of us, we've had our primal senses warped by socialization. Absolutely. just in the manner that we respond to it. So right. It goes both ways, right? The door swings both ways. But I kind of look at her and I say that she's capping, of course. She's full of shit, as a lot of women who echo this type of rhetoric are. You bring up income. It has nothing to do with income. If you met a man making $95,000 a year, but he worked in sanitation, you would not date that guy. You wouldn't. Because for you, sanitation it's not sexy enough. It's got to be somebody who in your mind is an owner or a boss. And again, I don't mind that as long as we're honest about it. But don't place the emphasis on income as if the end all to be all for where you stand on this is about income. It's not. It's about everything else. And I think that this exemplified that. I think she's full of crap. And I think Iyanla's retort to her was reasonable. And, it was fair. So I didn't have an issue with it. I just think that, Ebony is just full of boo-boo.
Well, to mention the, what you call it, the primal stuff. So, yeah, I don't remember exactly what I said then, but yeah, I agree 100%. I think everybody's just operating off their primal energy, but that's where the manipulation takes place, where it gets warped. And so where are they picking up these new forms of habit? This new twitchy behavior that everybody think is cool, but I would holler that's from watching all these apps and these little videos that's only X amount of seconds long, so your attention span is short. So you watch human behavior in a jiggy jaggy way, and then you start to mimic that behavior, and you think that speaking witty and all this other stuff that these new people are doing is cool, and it's not. It's weird. And so, but their primal behaviors are being manipulated, and they come out with these behaviors of just commercialization, and they don't even see how commercial they really are, and it's weird to hear new people speak, because it's like, where's the authenticity? You sound like a commercial. Where's your personality at? And people have been bred into being and seeing the world in one particular way through having their primal energy manipulated. So in these situations, yeah, I agree with that. And so and in this situation here, when she's the primal sense here is that she just wants to be dominated, period. So if she has a degree, she wants a man with a better degree. If she has if she's on TV and she's got this kind of status, and he needs to make X amount of dollars for me to be parading around with a man, because I can't walk around with no bus driver. I am who I am. So in her world, she wants to be dominated. So she wants somebody that's better than her, and that's what she wants. And so you're not going to get it, and she's not going to get it, and especially with that attitude and those drawn on eyebrows. So I don't have time for women like this, who she will run away from accountability. If this conversation got any more personal, she would have self-destructed. Steam would have been coming out of her ears.
Yeah, I think she just would have started lying.
Of course, yeah, it would have went down a rabbit hole of lies.
Yeah.
But I told you this before in previous conversations, man, that the current state where men are at, this is not what men do. We're supposed to be working for real, and not sitting behind desk or doing whatever. And even if you do hand-to-hand work in the field, like drive a bus or do construction, it's still not respected if you're the employee. And subconsciously, in a primal sense, they don't respect the man that has to follow another man, coming home from work, talking about how another man controls you. Subconsciously, it turns women off that aren't thinking. So, how you say this lady name over here? I don't even know.
Which one? Iyanla?
Yeah, Iyanla. So excuse the pronunciation. I'll just call her Own for now, because that's the only thing I've seen her on. But as Own was speaking, and she was speaking that truth of the actual truth, that there's good men in every tax bracket. That, of course, this Ebony woman, she's not gonna want to hear that, because she's so, like you said, man, she's so conditioned. And no, he has to dominate me. And honestly, even if she were to deal with some guy and he was real cool that didn't make as much, eventually over time, she's just going to find him gross. And so I think that's natural. So I think that's natural. And that's how the hypergamy thing comes in, because you're not a prize to them. And you gotta be you gotta be like, oh man, I won with this one. That's
I agree with you. I just don't think being a prize to them has much. I think. See, the primary problem that I have with people like this, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm coming at women. The primary problem that I have with people like this is they use income as a crutch. They use income as a way to make themselves seem reasonable, even though they are actually being unreasonable. Because I don't think it has anything to do with income. Like I said, I think if a guy worked in sanitation who made more money than her, I don't know how much money she makes, but just kind of using this as an example, if a guy worked in sanitation and he made more than her, let's say he runs a sanitation plant in New York City or somewhere like this. And so he's running the whole thing. He's the boss and he runs the whole thing, and he's making more than her, but he works in sanitation. I think she would find that guy inadequate, not because of income, but because he works in sanitation. So when I bring up the point about socialization, I'm talking specifically about a valuation that we as human beings today, in the modern day sense, place on certain aspects of earning a living.
Mhm.
So if you work sanitation, if you're a bricklayer, if you work a crane, you know what I'm saying? If you're a foreman on a construction site, you probably out earn 70% of the population. If you want to break it down on dollar figures, the average median salary in America, I believe currently is like 44,000 a year, I think. Based on the last research that I did, it's 40 something. It ain't as high as 45. The highest American salary right now is like 42 to 44 or something. So that's the mean, which means below that, you got people and then you got people above that, but the mean is like 40 something. So if you're doing these things, there's a decent chance you're out earning a pretty sizable percentage of the population. And most of that population is going to be women. Now, granted, she is an exception because she's probably, and I'm assuming that just based off the way she talks, I'm assuming she's in a higher tax bracket than most. I'm assuming she's probably a 20 percenter. So she's already operating from the standpoint where, yeah, you do have slim pickings from that standpoint because you're dealing with a smaller percentage of the population. But even within that 20 percentile, you got men who probably do all of the stuff that I done brought up: construction, architecture, sanitation, maybe they're in IT, engineering, so on and so forth. In my opinion, I don't want to put words in her mouth. In my opinion, I feel as though the way that her mind is set up and the way women like her think and the way their minds are set up, men who are in IT, sanitation, landscape architecture, whatever, electrical engineering, whatever, who are in the same bracket as her, so they might be making a little less than her, or they might be making a little more than her, or they might be making maybe 10, 15K more than her, but you're still in the same bracket. She's going to look at that as inadequate. And it has nothing to do with income, from what I can tell. And it has everything to do about specifically what they do and the social cachet that we as people in the West have attached to certain forms of work. And so that's why I kind of look at it and I say it's warped primal energy. But that's my opinion. That's just kind of how I see it. I don't really see it these days having much to do with money. I don't, at least I don't think that. Because if you ask these chicks, what do you want your guy to be doing? Like, you can ask them, poll them. What would your ideal man? What does he do for a living? They're going to mention certain things like maybe he's a doctor, maybe he is a practitioner of some sort, a lawyer, or maybe he runs his own real estate company or does this or that. Now, it just so happens that in all likelihood, men in those spaces are going to out earn you because doing those things come with a certain requisite level of income. But that's a convenient way to correlate those things. Really, it's about the other factors that come into play when you're talking about what a guy does for a living, but you can conveniently use income as a way to make yourself seem more reasonable. That's kind of where I feel like chicks like this Ebony woman are coming from, or at least that's their mind state.
I would say, because the reason why I brought up, well, let me stick with this. So I think in these situations, you said a lot there. I want to respond to two different things. So, all right. So in a nutshell, I still think that, yes, this is still in a primal sense. They just want to be dominated. And so money is a factor. It always is. It's never not. Hey, man, I wish we lived in a world where money was not a factor. And I wish we lived in a world where women would devalue it. But they don't. And women wish there was a world where men just devalued vagina so much so they wouldn't ask for it all the time if they were married. Just, all right, bro, it's just, just sex. It's going to get to that point. And then you got to be okay with that as a man. So the whole thing is that, yeah, in her mind, why can't he just get over sex as a man? You already know what you mean. How can I not get over? In her world, how can I not be over money? That's security, duh. That's your job. And
Can I
so,
throw one? I'm gonna let you finish, but I just want to throw one little thing in there
okay.
because I hear what you're saying.
Mhm.
But what I see this, and this is, I think it's interesting. This is an interesting conversation. So I'm
Mhm.
not necessarily saying you're wrong. I
Right,
just
right,
think we're looking. I think we're looking at it slightly different.
of course.
When women say, like you said, why can't the woman say, "Hey, man, stop," you know, valuing vagina so much?
Mhm.
That's not how I see it. The way
Okay.
I see it is women are saying that would be like a woman's like a guy saying, why do you have to value how I make my money so much? Would be the same thing as a woman saying, why do you have to value ass so much? Because it ain't necessarily about vagina. It's about a woman having a fat ass, because not every woman has a fat ass. Not every woman has a fat ass.
Oh, I
But,
wish
uh,
though.
but I know, right? But like us as men, it's not like it's not necessarily about the vagina, but some women might be like, why does it have to be about that kind of body type? She need to have the kind of ass to hip ratio and all of that kind of stuff. Like I got body, I just don't have a body like that. I think that's kind of how I see it. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, yeah, because but I don't think money's a preference. Body types and stuff is a preference. And I was just saying that in the sense that, vagina is no preference, that you just want it or not. Do you want sex? Because, and what kind of woman you want sex with? But I get what you're saying, man. I think still overall the that they just want to be. We're not women. But I can only, the only thing that I can tell you, that the best way I can explain it of how I look at it is that, how you feel when it's like around Christmas and it's a little chilly outside and you just turn the heat on, so it's about to get real fancy in there, but you want that blanket on you, so then you grab the blanket so you can get extra toasty. Men's job for women is to be the blanket and make sure that they're extra toasty. And they want to always feel like that, period. They want that feeling every day. And the only way that that can happen is if some guy out there is always making sure that the heater's going to come on, that they're going to be covered and protected in all facets, and that they're going to be feeling good. And each woman got their own definition of feeling good. But at the end of the day, money is at the crux for the women that aren't thinking all the way, that are just acting out of whatever. Now, part of their manipulation becomes their preference down the line of, hey, you can't be a bus driver, but you can be an entertainer.
And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
When they bring, what I'm saying is when they bring up money, they're not actually talking about money. They're talking about preference.
Right. So yeah, right.
That's my suspicion.
I got you. And
Yeah.
so when when they go, hey, I want to be taken care of, that's what they mean. And so if you're a man that makes around the same amount as them or less than them, you're not the warm blanket. You're not the warm and fuzzy one. And then, damn, if the heater came on and it's making noise and this ain't secure enough, I want that feeling. And he can't provide it. So as much as y'all love each other, she knows there's warmer nights. And she's gonna hold out for that and give you shit until you get it. And then she'll start acting right. But if you never get it, she's gone. And then the sad part about this is that if they just did this to just get married, I wouldn't have issues. But then there's the other population that look at it as, okay, that was come up phase 1. Now I'm gonna take the kid. Now I'm gonna take this house, and I'm gonna get pension. And then they go, yep, cash out again. Taxes season come around, they claiming the kids. and just living, doing nothing. That's the population that I have an issue with. Yeah, you, baby. Not all of you. But so this woman here, she looks like the Ebony young lady. You know, I don't know her from a can of paint. But one thing I can tell by those painted on eyebrows, and every time she rolled her eyes when the truth came around, that she's the type of scoundrel woman that high value men, because that's what she wants, stay away from. They're wearing condoms with that, hopefully, fellas, and just leaving her where she on the outskirts. But the reason why I had brought up and I'll leave it the last reason, and the reason why I had brought up the earlier conversation that I had made about us not doing it, and it's more of a status thing, because in her mind it's like status, and when it comes to her preference, and even if if you're gonna give me a bus driver, at least have him own it. And in that mindset is, I don't want a man who's an employee. And so that's why I was in those conversations, I was always emphasizing that, hey man, make your money now. I get it. But just look at your job as the cotton gin from here on out.
Mm.
You're just in the fancier one. And you just you're doing it now, just in AC. And the women subconsciously can see that. And subconsciously they're turned off for the ones that aren't thinking.
Right.
And that's a lot of people that don't think right now. And then there's women who can compartmentalize this and see that, but then look past that because, they actually are in thought. So the own lady over there actually is using her brain. And autopilot Ebony over here, all right, was just baffled that, damn, I sounded like a thought on air. And then, of course, then she was, like you said, she was going to start cleaning stuff up later just to make herself look like, oh, I ain't just judging the man off his status or his income. I'm 50-50.
Boo, 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 as I say. That is boo, boo. Boo, boo.
That was a good one, though.
It was. Well, and I don't even believe in 50. I'm not saying that 50-50s are like, if a woman is not okay with 50-50, cool. My whole thing is just stop bullshitting me. You care about status. Income is secondary to status. That's my opinion. If anyone disagrees, go ahead, let us know in the comments. But in this day and age, now again, you put the disclaimer out there. I'm going to reiterate. This is, I know this sounds like a generalization. Yes, this does not apply to all women. It doesn't apply to all people.
That's right.
So let me make that clear. A lot of women out there are reasonable and they do understand these various nuances and concepts, but there's a lot of them that don't, and they place a valuation on status. But they will try to make themselves seem like a reasonable person by talking about income. It ain't about income. It's about the status of what they do. And that, I think, is a warped form of conditioning. And so I think that she's in that. Eboni Williams, I think she's in that. I think Iyanla, who, not coincidentally, comes from an older generation. So she's less corrupted than younger women probably. And she understands the value of steering the conversation in the right direction. Iyanla's talking about income. Eboni K Williams, rather, is talking about status. And status and income are two different things. Now, you can say that, it's like not all racists are ignorant. It's like, what is it? Not all ignorant people are racist, but all racist people are ignorant. So not all men who earn a lot of money have the status to go with it, but all the guys who have status, in all likelihood, earn the money. And she's trying to conflate those two things. And a lot of women like her conflate the two, and they're not the same. She wouldn't piss on fire to put out a guy who works in sanitation. She wouldn't. Even if that guy worked in sanitation and made $150K a year, she wouldn't piss on fire to put that guy out. She wouldn't. Maybe if he owned the sanitation company. But
Maybe.
I just call BS whenever I hear that kind of stuff. So
Man,
another
they need
example of
lifestyle, bro.
Yeah.
We need the lights.
Another example of pointing out hypocrisies on the Content Post channel, or at least I see that as a hypocrisy. You might disagree, and that's perfectly fine. It's a free country. I feel as though that's a hypocrisy.
Ladies, let us know in the comment section. All right. I know not all of you ladies are just mindless bots out here, but you actually have a mind of your own. So let us know in the comment section. All right. What you think about this?
Yeah, facts. Appreciate the content though. Thanks to Eboni K Williams for the content, as well as Iyanla Vanzant. Appreciate that. Iyanla Vanzant she's been around for a while.
Yeah,
I've watched a few episodes of that Fix My Life show, and shit gets real from time to time. I don't think a lot of those women end up changing, but at least it's entertaining to watch. So
very good. All right. Yeah, every time I seen her, man, she be dropping truth.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have friends of the channel, Nick Cannon and Jada Pinkett Smith. Both of these people are friends of the channel. So Nick Cannon is happy that Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk Show has been canceled. The Red Table Talk Show is no longer going to air new episodes. It's been canceled by Facebook because Facebook, I believe, is phasing out that whole aspect of what they do, Meta, Facebook, whatever the hell you want to call them. And Nick Cannon thinks that it's a good thing that show is over and done with. So for the purposes of context, so Nick Cannon was on his Glass Cannon podcast show. And the subject of the Red Table Talk Show being canceled came up. And, they talked about it. And so Nick Cannon spared no expense to make it clear that he was glad that show is being canceled. So this is an article from Yahoo Entertainment. It says Nick Cannon calls Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk Show toxic, praises cancellation. Nick Cannon recently pointed out what he considered apparently a blemish in the Smith family's legacy. The comedian, who most recently welcomed his 12th child, publicly celebrated the cancellation of Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk series, which was scrapped along with Facebook Watch's original programming because he claimed that toxic table ruined the couple's Hollywood royalty status. Quote, if there was no Red Table Talk, then he wouldn't have slapped the shit out of Chris Rock, said Cannon during a segment of his The Daily Cannon radio show earlier this week. So it's not a podcast, it's a radio show. Quote, that was royalty, Will and Jada. Then they brought it to the table. The Wild 'N Out host continued, I don't want to know all this shit about y'all. Cannon's remarks echoed a sentiment seen across social media over the years that Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, though successful as movie stars and beloved as a pair, were using the internet to fuel their vanity by airing out their dirty laundry in public. Quote, I just want to mind my black-owned business, end quote, said Cannon. I don't want to be up in everybody else's kitchen. Keep that shit to yourselves. Jada infamously discussed her entanglement with a younger man during an episode of the show in 2020 with Will, whose morose and distressed facial expressions went viral as a meme. Then in 2022, after a joke by Chris Rock about the Set It Off actor's alopecia, Will slapped Rock in front of millions on live TV at the Oscars.
He didn't say about her alopecia. They need to stop.
No, he didn't. Yeah, that I know. People that it gets reported like that. Chris Rock did not mention that, so people need to stop with that. But here is an excerpt from that from the radio show where Nick Cannon is talking about this.
Meta has shut down Facebook Watch Original, Red Table Talk, and others. Yeah.
No.
So there's no more Red Table Talk. But according to Deadline, the series producer is shopping the Emmy winning series somewhere else. Nick,
if there was no Red Table Talk, then you wouldn't have slapped the shit out of Chris Rock.
No.
Are you talking about just that situation?
I'm talking about that.
Switch to Xfinity Mobile and save
No,
20% over
it's an honest table.
Too much honesty can get your ass slapped in the face. We've seen this.
A good slap is what people need sometimes.
That table was toxic. They made all the memes about my brother Will on that damn table. They didn't need to do that.
Well, listen, Will agreed to come to the damn
I'm getting
table.
a red table.
It's at his house. I gotta walk by this motherfucking table every day. That was royalty, Will and Jada.
They were.
They are.
And they brought us to the
still.
table.
No,
we
no,
like,
no.
I don't want to know all this
It
shit
makes them
about
feel.
y'all.
It feels like human, like they're human, and it feels like relatable because they're trash too, just like all of us.
Exactly.
What?
I want to mind my black-owned business.
You can't.
I don't
want
want to be in. I don't want to be up in everybody else's kitchen. Keep that shit to yourselves.
I'm getting a red table.
You should get a red
You
Period.
at the table by your goddamn.
Don't nobody want to know about
Fuck
your
that table.
dirty table. I don't believe that. Unbelievable. Wow.
I don't know what I feel more strongly about. How appreciative I am of what Nick Cannon said, or how disgusted I am of what the rest of those women said.
I mean, what are you talking about?
I don't know. It's out of control. The fact that they actually thought that show was a good thing, or at least maybe not the whole show, but that incident, that was atrocious. The one light skinned girl with the shorter hair who was talking about how it makes them more relatable, and she's gonna go and get her own red table. She's disgusting. She's a disgusting human being. She is. But but what were your thoughts on that whole exchange and what Nick Cannon said about this show being canceled?
I mean, I agree with him. And I think he has a close relationship with Will. So the show was toxic, man. It didn't help the culture at all. It just made everybody think that being in dysfunctional relationships was okay, like the crazy one said. And oh yeah, so even Will and Jada live in shitty conditions. So why can't I? What sense does that even make? So yeah, it's relatable for shitty people, but everybody else that doesn't aspire to live like that looks at this situation and go, hey man, that's a messed up situation. It's nothing clean about that. And did she have to do this? Publicly humiliate her marriage for a check? And we've discussed about it before, and I just felt like her angle was, I got to tell my story. But I mean, write it in a book. And I don't know what all this other stuff is doing, but this stuff is it's tainted everything. So I agree with him. I felt like it wasn't in good taste. If it was just her just talking about red table stuff, instead of her marriage and her inner house, like relationships, like what is that? We don't need to hear that. So I agree with Nick there. But the ladies that were just talking about all that other noise, that's the problem that I have with new people right now. I mean, and then they're not really even that new, but I mean, they're like around our age, but I mean, we starting to act like them, man. And but go ahead, man. How do you feel about this? You think Mr. Cannon was off base with this one, or do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with Nick Cannon. It's too bad that people are defending, like, even if you think that putting your personal business out for public consumption in that way is a good thing because it makes you relatable. That was the most ridiculous part of that whole video to me, was when she said that. That was absolutely absurd. Because the thing is the price that Will Smith in particular paid for that worth his increased relatability? Is it? And relatable to who? People don't desire to be in dysfunctional situations. Maybe you do because you think it's cool to have fights on social. You think watching couples fight on social media is cool, and maybe you enjoy the entertainment spectacle of seeing couples throw wine glasses at each other on reality TV shows, and so you think that this kind of stuff is endearing. But there's a whole swath of people out here who seek peace in their relationships, not turmoil and chaos. And turmoil and chaos is not indicative of relatability. It's indicative of something that you want to eliminate so that you can go back to peace and tranquility. Peace and tranquility is what's relatable because that's what people most desire, not chaos. So for that chick to talk about how it made them more relatable, I'm not buying that because, in my opinion, okay, yeah, everyone goes through stuff, but everyone doesn't want to languish in what they go through. You want to eliminate that kind of stuff from your life. So what's relatable is wanting to eliminate it. Clearly, that whole ordeal on that show and Will's subsequent appearance sitting next to her at the table as she went through this, talking about it publicly, it didn't eliminate their turmoil. It didn't. Because had it eliminated the turmoil, he wouldn't have did what he did publicly to Chris Rock. It would have been over. Obviously, it continued and it festered and it boiled over in a moment of public embarrassment when he did slap the hell out of Chris Rock on a stage like that. So I don't think like committing to a behavior that sees you continuing to live in a state of chaos makes you more relatable. If anything, presenting chaos is only relatable when it's presented within the context of wanting to remove it. But that was not removing chaos, that was adding to it. In the aftermath of that whole situation, like Cannon said, Will's facial expressions being on that show became a meme that still gets used to this day. An R&B singer made a song about it. He made a song about it and put a platinum selling rapper as a feature on the song to boost the song's popularity and reach. It was a number one hip hop hit. It's on my Spotify playlist to this day.
Hysterical.
How are you going to? What about that is relatable? I'm not trying. Like I know that relationships can become dysfunctional and chaotic. But what that did was normalize it to the point that it made people feel as though dysfunctionality and chaos is something that you can aspire to in your relationship. Even your favorite Hollywood people do it.
Yeah.
Like this speaks to me of something that we often talk about on this channel. It's an ongoing theme of the normalization of certain behaviors that ought not to be normalized. And this is one of them. Chair throwing, drink throwing, fighting, slapping, what do you like to say? Throwing drinks at Sunday brunch and having the mimosas.
That's what they be doing.
Right. This is where this comes from. It's the normalization of dysfunctional behavior. So I guess because now in 2023 it's cool to be dysfunctional. When we have certain role models that put their dysfunctionality on display for public consumption, we can now say, oh, okay, cool. Behavior normalized. Now I can continue to languish in my dysfunctional relationship because it's cool. Maybe I can get a deal out of it. Like she said, I'll get my own red table. Hell, I'll record our fights and put them on TikTok and Instagram because we're in such a narcissistic society now. So I'm with Cannon. And you can say what you want about Nick Cannon and his zillion kids. I don't know anything about the details of any of his relationships or the dynamics between him and any of his children's mothers. I don't know about any of that because Cannon keeps that kind of stuff close to the vest. You got to give him credit for that at least, whatever you think about him and all of his kids, because it's about peace and tranquility, not chaos. Cannon don't want chaos. And so Cannon is speaking from a place of reason. And unfortunately, a lot of people today don't. They speak from a place of lack of reason. There are a lot of people today are unreasonable, and it's sad and unfortunate.
I mean, it's easy, like you was mentioning earlier, like it's easy for people to be dysfunctional. So it doesn't require any work. And so it's easy to be irresponsible. You don't have to do anything. So the easy thing to do. So I have a theory, I guess. It's probably already out there in some philosopher's book or whatever. But people want to do nothing all the time. If there's anything that's innate, is to want to do nothing. Now, when I say do nothing, now then there's people, of course, that have work ethic and they do things. So I'm not just saying whatever, but I think default mode for humans is just to be lazy. It's to do the irresponsible thing by not doing the thing. And so that's why people have to, like you said, like decision making is a skill. You have to, I think, having good habits about yourself is a skill that you have to develop. And if there's an area that you choose to be air quote lazy in, you have to have the ability to go, I don't have to be lazy over there. And you have to work your way out of that. And so, like school, for instance, people don't want to do school. You know, some people enjoy school, they enjoy learning, but you know what? You can go to hell with this paper due tomorrow night. But I gotta do it. And so, yeah, I'm doing something that I don't want to do, but you know, I'm achieving a goal, but I would rather do nothing. So that's what I mean by it's the easy thing to do, but you still have to fight past that because you know that there's something important on the other end of it. So when people are getting validation to just be shitty, oh, I don't have to actually work on myself. No, you don't. Because this person's worse than you. You didn't see their post? God damn. Their life is worse than mine. And their life is worse than mine porn that people watch all the damn time. They need to check that. And if you're watching people's life circumstances just because theirs are shittier than yours, that should be a red flag to you that I think my life's pretty shitty. And instead of doing the nothing thing, the easy thing, the lazy thing, it's not who you are. It's just something that you have to work through. But people choose not to. And so women like that girl over there, that was like, yep, I knew everybody was living crappy, just like me. That's like, no, the people that they promote in front of us, they tend to live crappy lives because, well, they kind of need to. And the people that do live, you know, respectable lives, you don't hear from, you know, you don't hear about Denzel until The Equalizer is coming out.
Shouts out, they got part 3 coming out. Part 3 coming out.
Yeah, so
Equalizer 3.
Yeah, so you know, Denzel he got a son in Hollywood. His son, you know, as far as I'm concerned, ain't out here wilding. He's just doing his thing, you know, on the low key. Denzel is just out here chilling. And so, you know, there's people out there, you can be respectable in Hollywood, but for the most part, a lot of them aren't. And so to hear about what's actually going on in a weirdo's household, because that's what they are. And then now you don't think it's a weirdo, not you, but people that's, oh, you don't think they're weird? That Jaden Smith brings on his boyfriend, then the mom starts having sex with him in the house. You don't think that's weird? And then they want to get on TV and then tell everybody about it? Emasculate your husband in front of you? Don't think this is weird behavior? So why wouldn't Will get on stage and slap? Actually, just speaking out this timeline, like Nick Cannon said, hey, why is that not the next step? These are weirdos. This whole family. And so, you know, sorry for the kids, you know, but their parents put that energy on them. So this is not so much for the kids, man, because, you know, they out here trying their best. But Will and Jada, I mean, they was kooky from the start. So high key, they deserve each other. So anyways, yeah, I do think it was messy. They did not need to put this on air. But they're going to still find a way to get this to the masses. Facebook is just having cuts right now. All right. So they just can't afford nothing.
Yeah.
And they need their metrics to look good. So they got to keep firing people and laying stuff off and cutting funds here just so it looks like they're turning a profit. So right now, this is part of the cutting room floor stuff. They're going to find a new network to put their BS on because somebody's funding this goofiness. We don't want to watch it, but they're going to force it in your Facebook or your whatever feeds now. And then people are going to watch it. And hey, man, we said it was a gold mine for content, but here, the conscious approach, we flip it on its axis and we take it to another level. So, yeah, man. So they're weirdo stuff. They can have it. And whatever those girls were talking about in that room, boy, my skin would be crawling. I don't know how he works with them girls. Jeez Louise.
Well, I mean, let's be real. All right. I mean, a lot of the women that Nick Cannon associates with are cut from that cloth. I'm not surprised. Um, you know, but yeah, Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it, they're bleeding red. Um, so yeah, they've got to make all kinds of cuts because they're bleeding red. They've made various business ventures that didn't pan out, like the metaverse and all of the rest of this BS that they're trying to push. Plus, they are an active company of censorship. They censor content. They develop all sorts of AI and machine technology that silences people. So people are moving off of them and they're starting to bleed red as a result. That's the reason why this show was canceled, not because of some moral obligation to get rid of it. It's because they're bleeding red. Um, yeah, I just, you know, and we get on this channel, or at least I do. Sometimes I engage in righteous indignation, talking about the way things, how, this, we're just, slowly but surely headed towards decay ultimately, you know, right? And it's like, the normalization of certain behaviors that shouldn't be normalized is at the root of a lot of this, sexual deviancy, and then, just dysfunctional relationships on Front Street and narcissism. Like, that red table talk should have been followed by people encouraging them to go to therapy and shut that show down. But we just sort of relish in seeing people upended because we're such narcissists, and then the people who create the content like them they're such narcissists that they will take all the attention that they can get, even if it's attention that's damaging to their self-respect and their own psyche and personal well-being and mental health. Because at the end of the day, the attention and the currency of attention supersedes the right thing. And why do we want to do the right thing anyway, right? Because who cares about that? That's passe and old school anyway. It's just all about what gets the attention and makes the money, and gets the clicks and gets the algorithm fed to your social media feeds. And it sucks because I feel like that family has become a casualty of this dynamic, even though they were willing participants because, yeah, they've been on weird stuff for a while, but they definitely exacerbated their weirdness with these various moves for sure. And again, you cannot convince me that whatever relatability they gained from this experience was worth the price of their public embarrassment. It wasn't worth it. In my opinion, it wasn't. But I guess to the rest of our culture, it is worth it because there's certainly, I guess you can't put a price on the attention, even if that price is infamy and permanent embarrassment. Seriously. And I don't care what anybody says. Will Smith can make all of the slavery movies and Venus and Serena Williams movies that he wants until he retires from acting. This will go down in infamy. And
go ahead.
It won't reflect positively upon him or his career, in my opinion.
And just the attention factor is kind of like the Dylan Brooks situation. Like the Dylan Brooks situation, by the way, should be used as a case study. that was awesome to witness that. It was such instant I don't like the word karma effect, to what he was actually putting out there. His vibes, his seeking attention. He wanted to make a name for himself. And he sure enough did. And I think these people here who are so hung up and so thirsty for attention that they'll put their business out there. This will get people watching and talking about us. We'll be relevant again. And see, that's that crazy part. That's that part that regular people don't understand. But these celebrities, they need another high. I ain't got no movies coming out. I was in the Matrix. Nobody was checking for that. People still think Angela Bassett's a better actress than me. She is. So we just remember you from a couple classics back in the day and in a different world. Other than that, you just, what I'm saying? So it's dry for her. So she wants this will get people talking. If I put it in a book, which you probably already did or whatever, people aren't going to read
she's
it.
writing a book. She's writing a book. Yeah,
now,
she's writing a book.
Yeah. But now it was just like, let me just go ahead and put it out there. So right when COVID happened, things on lockdown, people bored as hell. It was tuning into this mess, and it was great content, like as we mentioned. But these people here, like their moral codes are different, dude. Like they were sleeping with the same man in this house, and he was okay with it, and all this other. Like they're on a different timeline, so they don't care. And so Nick Cannon can say this, but they're saying it to a brick wall. And they're going to come out with a blue table talk because it's probably copyright infringements or something. And then they're just going to be out there talking all the blue and dropping all of that on y'all. And then, of course, we're going to be covering here on a conscious approach. But we're not going to be, giving you guys, the gossip. We're going to be giving you guys some nuggets about what's actually going on, in the waves they try to program you with. But yeah, man, dysfunctionality is not it. And so, but they have to keep promoting this stuff, and they need the attention. And so basically the Dylan Brooks part of it is the embarrassment was worth it.
Yeah.
Because attention is attention for people that just want attention. And yeah, they'll gnaw their own hands off just so everybody can go, God damn, he gnawed his hand off. And then, it's like, why? But I needed attention. And so this is a attention hungry group of people. So like I said, man, they all deserve each other. This all makes sense to me, and have at it, y'all. We'll just keep covering it here. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I can sit up here and say that the price of the attention wasn't worth the embarrassment, but that's because of the way that I process information.
Yeah, you ain't them, man.
So yeah, to others, it was well worth it for sure. And that's the disconnect. And I find that to be unfortunate because there's plenty of people out there in the public eye who get their fair share of attention, who can avoid this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned Denzel. He's above board. You'll never see this. And it is what it is. I just think that there's clearly a divide, and there's two different schools of thought when it comes to attention and acceptable forms of behavior, and we've just taken things a little too far in my estimation. But hey, man, I guess it was worth it to them. Whatever. It is what it is. I kind of think it's gross, but what are you gonna do, man? Narcissism is way out of control. Yeah,
man.
Doja Cat showing up to the Met Gala looking like an actual cat, and that's being heralded and celebrated as like, she made this wonderful fashion statement. She looked like a cat. Like she looked ridiculous. But this, I don't know. I just can't get down with this stuff, man. I can't. I don't know. I guess I'm just. Yeah, I have an old soul for real, man. It's crazy, but I think Nick Cannon is on to it. So Nick Cannon, I got you. Good job. You're right. And if those women on your radio show start their own version of that kind of red table talk thing, please fire all of them.
First of all, ain't nobody gonna watch that crap.
Yeah.
Because who the hell are they? And we don't want to hear that's what I said, your dirty table. I want to hear about that.
Well, you should still fire him anyway. on principle, just fire him. All right. Lastly, we're gonna talk about Steph Curry and LeBron. So LeBron, clickbait. Steph Curry is clickbait. A lot of people always like to give their opinions on LeBron. Recently, Murder Mase, who does a It Is What It Is sports podcast show with Cameron, expressed how he feels as though Steph Curry is the new GOAT. So, Steph and the Warriors, they took out the Sacramento Kings in Game 7 of the Western Conference first round of the playoffs. Steph scored 50 in the game. Ooh. A lot of people are talking about this. Ooh. And so Cameron and Mase were doing like a little live session talking about Steph. And Mase put it out there that he thinks that not only has Steph passed LeBron, but that LeBron is the new GOAT. So interesting. Yeah, that Steph is the new GOAT. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So this little article here is from Hot New Hip Hop. So it says Mase dubs Steph Curry better than LeBron. Mase knows what it is like to be on top of the world. Currently on Spotify, the rap legend has 2 million people per month listening to his music. That's interesting. I didn't know that. With his top song "Feels So Good" earning over 127 million plays, now the rap icon is moving on to discussing highly debatable sports takes. In a recent Instagram live with Cameron, the pair discussed the talents of LeBron James and Steph Curry. While both respect the game of both players, Mase believes that Curry is the better player. The Warriors' sharpshooter has continued to climb up the greatest player of all time list. Recently, after the Warriors' opening round victory over the Kings, many were making the case for Curry to be a top 10 player of all time. However, being compared to being on the same level as James hasn't been much of a conversation. However, it makes sense that this discussion would finally come up. Check out the comments and question in the video below. So we'll skip all that. So we'll just go ahead and play Mace's comments here. So let's see here. Again, we won't play the whole thing. We'll just play a little piece of it. Mase is actually pretty funny. I didn't know Mase was as funny as he is. I don't know if he's kind of, on a little something to ease his mind whenever he's doing this kind of stuff, but he's funny. Mase is hilarious.
Yeah, I didn't know he was a comedian like that. I didn't know he was a funny dude.
Right, me neither. So yeah, here's the Instagram live exchange between Cam and Mase. So here we go.
Steph Curry, man.
Steph Curry is the new GOAT.
Steph Curry, man. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
Steph Curry just went
them niggas, man.
Yeah, Steph Curry just set the record for Game 7 all time.
Yeah.
Is he better than LeBron?
He's better than LeBron.
No, I ain't gonna say that.
Better than LeBron. Steph is the new GOAT.
No. Steph had it at the time. This is what happened. This is the breakdown. This is what happened.
You gotta be the new GOAT, killer.
Now listen. We was about to find out. Steph won one, then LeBron won one. And then Golden State got Kevin Durant. So they went on a run like, nobody was losing when KD got the Golden State, nigga. Come on now. Listen, I'm a Steph Curry fan, and we about to find out this is a super dope series, nigga. But
you see that last move Steph did for the 50, though?
Yeah, he went marquee.
Yeah,
from Harlem, he went marquee. But what the fuck is Jordan Poole doing on some G shit? What the fuck is Jordan Poole doing since he got the money?
All right, so there you go. Mase says Curry is past LeBron and that Curry is the new GOAT. I don't know what new GOAT means exactly, but that's what Mase said. We're going to use it for content anyway.
That's right.
So that'll probably get, a lot of people are probably going to talk about this ad nauseum, especially for the next couple of days, because they're getting ready to play each other in the next round of the conference semifinals in the West. And whenever LeBron's name gets brought up, it tends to get a lot of attention. So what did you think about what Mase had to say about that?
Yeah, it's a hot take for sure. He's gonna have to qualify that. And so I guess new GOAT meaning, because I guess it gets re-ranked. So you can just get re-ranked easily. So I guess Steph just hopped him because of 150-point game. And it wasn't just 150-point game, but it wasn't in the finals. So I don't know what makes this so special, but it was special. And I mentioned this before in one of the long conversations. I don't remember which one it was, but we were talking about basketball players and people's definition of it. And I mentioned that Steph Curry is a better basketball player than LeBron James. He plays basketball better than him. No, he can't fly out the gym. He can't do all these, crazy things athletically. But when it comes to basketball and understanding how the game is supposed to be played, in my opinion, Steph plays it the right way. He's modernized it for sure with all the shooting and all this other stuff. But when it comes to still respecting the craft of basketball, he does that. And if I was starting a team, I would want Steph Curry on my, prime whoever. Prime LeBron or prime Steph Curry. I'm taking prime Steph Curry.
Wow.
Why would I, and hot take, right? Why would I take prime Steph Curry? Because my team is going to win. My team is going to win because of how he plays basketball. LeBron plays front runner basketball. Now, he's relying on his teammates more. Now he's playing small forward. That's what I've been asking him to do his entire career. Play small forward. And dominate the ball when you need to, but play small forward. He never did that. It was always LeBron ball to me. And LeBron ball can't beat real basketball. That's why the Mavericks handled the Heat the way they did. And what was that, San Antonio? It just handled us. And it was because they were playing basketball the way it needs to be played. And we was out there front running, just trying to beat them with athleticism and LeBron ball. So, so now LeBron plays a more holistic game, but his spirit is still there not anymore, not as much, but he used to always want to pound the ball and be ball dominant, and I got tired of that. And so now, like I said, he just hangs out in the post where he needs to, runs the break when he needs to, and does his thing as a small forward. And I really enjoy this brand of LeBron versus Cleveland or Miami LeBron. So, but in a nutshell, that's not his prime, and that's not the LeBron people want to take. They want to take high flying, D Wade throwing passes from the other half of court and LeBron catching it and windmilling it. That's the LeBron they want. And I say that I'll take whatever prime Steph is. This could be it. Who knows? But I'll take I'll take prime Steph, and I would rather have him build my team instead of LeBron. So to me, he's a better basketball player. So what about you, sir? Do you think that Mase was reaching here? Hot take here. Do you think Steph Curry is a better basketball player than LeBron? That's a fair question.
Yeah, you put some real hot takes out there.
Hey, man,
I can't wait till we put this video on the channel. I'm looking forward to those comments. I'm looking forward to the comment section on this one. Steph's not better than LeBron. And I'm not a LeBron fan. I actually have pretty much been a lifelong LeBron detractor. But as I've said before, it isn't because of LeBron himself, although he does do certain things that get on my nerves, like his passive aggressiveness and his, mainly his passive aggressiveness, where he'll do certain things that just irk me, like try to get coaches fired and teammates traded. And then when the media finds out about it, it's like, oh, LeBron doesn't. I don't make decisions. That's the front office, bro. You had something to do with that.
And by the way, hold on. And that comes with LeBron if you draft him.
Right.
Go on.
Yeah. Agreed. Understood. Okay. So yeah, that kind of stuff that he does, I've never really liked. But outside of that, I've always just kind of been a LeBron detractor because of his media attention. As I've said before, he's gotten the benefit from what I can tell, he has been the recipient of the greatest superstar double standard in the history of sports. In that, whenever his teams win, it's because of him and only him. And when his teams fail, it's because of everyone else. Coach needs to go. This teammate needs to go. It's always something. The owner is bad. It's always something other than LeBron just didn't get it done. And I've always hated that dynamic that he gets the benefit from. Now I can say that, but I can also say Steph's not better than he's just not better than LeBron. I think what Mase said is an easy thing to say in lieu of what just happened. It's recency bias, but I mean LeBron is an enigma. So he's the greatest physical
specimen.
I hate you. And I hate using that word. I don't like the word specimen because it sounds yes. It does.
Well, that's what he is. So we're gonna call it what it is.
He's the greatest physical package ever for a basketball player. And he's a Swiss Army knife in terms of his skill set, dribble pass. He's become a better shooter in his advanced age. He wasn't always a very good shooter. I think that LeBron is interesting. LeBron, just to kind of address some of the points that you've made, LeBron, it is LeBron ball. And he has oftentimes not. So people like Carmelo Anthony, for example, or even Luka. Luka's a current player who gets hit with this, and rightfully so. They get hit with the stigma of being ball dominant, where in any given possession, those guys are going to always have the ball for the majority of the shot clock and for the vast majority of all of the possessions in which they're in the game and not actually on the bench. You never really heard that said about LeBron. LeBron sort of gets the benefit of being considered someone who's not ball dominant, but a lot of LeBron's career, he has been ball dominant. He's had the ball a lot, but he has the ball a lot because the way that his game is set up, you have to surround him with people who can't have the ball in their hands. So by default, you have to surround him with people who shoot. And people who shoot tend to be otherwise deficient offensively. These tend to be people who can't shoot off the dribble, who can't create off the dribble, and they tend to be defensive liabilities. So you have to surround LeBron with people like Kyle Korver and J.R. Smith and Malik Beasley and Sasha Pavlovich and Mike Miller and Shane Battier, because it allows him to be able to do what he does best, but it in turn makes him ball dominant. So I only bring that up because there's a reason why, because I think you're right. He is ball dominant. He doesn't get criticized for being so, but he is. But there's also a reason why. But the reason why is because when you have LeBron, you got to play LeBron ball. But I think if in totality you amalgamate LeBron's skills and his career achievements and the fact that they are both tied in terms of championships, I can't go so far as I can't say Steph's a better player. I just think that they're different. And it hurts me to say that because I'm not a LeBron fan.
Yeah.
But I think if push comes to shove, if you consider both of them to be superstars, if it's a high leverage situation in the finals, and you want somebody to stop LeBron, and then you want somebody to stop Curry, you're going to have an easier time figuring out a way to put someone on Curry to limit him, as opposed to putting somebody on LeBron to limit LeBron. And I think that's why in some of those final situations, Curry kind of wasn't as dominant in those games as he had been in the prior rounds, because in that matchup, when it's tight, you can just put somebody on him to limit him, Kawhi Leonard or LeBron himself, somebody like this. And so if you look at the box score, LeBron's averaging like 32 a game, whereas Curry only averaged like 22 or 23 a game. They're just different bodies. And in basketball, size and height tends to win. And so I think if you put that into a vacuum with LeBron's career achievements, I can't say that LeBron is better. But here's the thing. It bothers me. I feel like Curry's career is starting to become minimized from the standpoint that people always want to point to Kevin Durant and the KD years. And they always want to try and make it seem as though it's advantage LeBron because nobody would have beat those teams. They couldn't be beat. They had KD. As if LeBron hasn't benefited from some of the same sorts of things. Like, look, when LeBron played for the Miami Heat, I can go down the roster. There was still a prime. It was still a prime Dwayne Wade and a prime Chris Bosh. These were two players who, in their own rights, were considered superstars at the time. You had 3 perennial top 75 all time. LeBron is top 2 by most people, not me, but most people consider LeBron to be top 2 all time. On the same team, surrounded by smart people who knew what to do and didn't miss if they were open, such as Ray Allen, Mike Miller, Shane Battier. You can throw shade at Mario Chalmers if you want, but if Mario Chalmers was open in the corner, he wasn't missing. The team was well coached, well structured, well conditioned. Like, I feel as though LeBron benefited from having a superstar team around him. 2 guys, top 75 all time. A lot of people think Wade is top. There are people who think that Dwayne Wade is a greater shooting guard than Kobe Bryant. There's people who think that. So what I'm saying is you have a guy like that on your team with a guy who's top 75 all time in Chris Bosh. But we don't want to minimize LeBron's achievement playing for the Heat, but we will minimize Curry's achievement playing with KD on the Warriors. To me, at the most, those things are a wash. If you're going to discredit what Curry achieved when playing with KD, then you have to kind of take a look at what LeBron did with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and say, all right, well, that was a super deal too. What's the difference? Let's call a spade a spade.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as I have said before, if we want to pick nits, in 2016, when the Cleveland Cavaliers won the championship, a lot of people view that as LeBron's crowning achievement. They benefited from a lot of breaks that went their way in that series. Injuries, Kyrie Irving dominating Steph Curry that entire series, and Draymond Green being suspended for a closeout game at home. These are things that you cannot ignore if you're going to want to throw in my face Kevin Durant being Steph Curry's teammate. So my whole thing is LeBron better? Yes, in my opinion. Has LeBron to this point had the greater career? Yes. But LeBron's played 20 years. I don't know what year Curry's in, but he ain't close to 20. And if Curry wins this series, hypothetically speaking, and he goes on to win another championship, he's got one up on LeBron. My point is, it's a worthy conversation to be had in terms of who's had the greater career. Now, of course, if you include the counting numbers, the stats, the box scores, the points, rebounds, assists, then no, LeBron's got that going away. All Curry has is the shooting numbers. But if you want to look at it with some nuance and you want to pay attention to the context, it's not an outlandish statement to make. But as it currently stands, I think what Mase said is just clickbait. I can't give that to Curry at this point. I'm not going to disrespect LeBron that much. He's done a lot in his career, scored all of these points. He's got all of these rebounds, points, and assist numbers, all of the double-double, triple-double numbers. He's got the 4 MVPs. He's got 4 finals MVPs, 4 championships, and he's a good player, his game and all of that kind of stuff. I just can't take that away from the guy, although I do hear what you're saying. But I don't like a lot of the arguments that people try to make in defense of LeBron towards Curry with this whole Kevin Durant super team thing. I don't like that because LeBron played with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love and a bunch of guys who didn't miss when they were open in Cleveland. And once again, took advantage of breaks that went their way. And then when he played in Miami, took advantage of breaks that went their way and played with 2 top 75 guys all time and another guy in Dwayne Wade, who a lot of people look at and say is maybe top 3, if not top 5 shooting guards ever. Like I said, there's people who are in the media who are smart, reportedly, who think Dwayne Wade is better than Kobe. So you got a guy who a lot of people think is better than Kobe who played with this guy. So why can't I use the whole teammate thing against LeBron? And that's where that whole double standard thing comes in that pisses me off when it comes to the LeBron argument. But be that as it may, I just think Mase is kind of doing this clickbaity thing. He's being funny. He's trying to carve a name for himself as a podcast personality. And I got love for Mase. He's not out here airing out his personal dirty laundry on talk shows. But I would still have to go with LeBron on this for now. But I do think that if Curry starts to, in the postseason, rack up more rings and finals MVPs, it's not a crazy conversation to be had.
No, I just think that Curry is a better basketball player. Meaning, so if we're doing this some top tier thing, and they say, hey, you get a chance to pick between Steph Curry or LeBron for your first pick, I'll say I'll take Steph Curry, thank you. And because I already know where it's going to go after that. And then you'll tell this person, all right, pick your other five, the other four for your starting lineup. Just tell them to go. I don't care. They can pick the next four, and give them Shaq, give them Tim Duncan, give them, whatever, give them Isaiah Thomas. Guess who's running point? LeBron. Who's bringing it down court? LeBron. Hey, Shaq, you can't stand in the corner. You're clogging up the paint. So you didn't even structure your team right. You just got to give them shooters.
Yeah, you have to.
Just as you mentioned, that's how he's effective. This is prime LeBron we're talking about, not LeBron that's playing small forward right now. And if we're talking about prime LeBron, he's going to relegate everybody. He's going to render Isaiah Thomas ineffective.
Yes. Isaiah Thomas would have to become a shooter playing with LeBron, a 3-point shooter. And when he would miss, because Isaiah Thomas was not a shooter like that, they're going to say, oh, Isaiah's just not that good. You got to get
we thought he was better than this. Give him Magic. Who's bringing it down court? LeBron is. Why LeBron got to bring it down? Everybody know Magic was the guy that, whatever that. Hey, but LeBron played, Magic played forward. He started at center some games, so he could play anywhere. They're going to justify why LeBron got to bring it down. Y'all still going to lose. So my thing is, give me the basketball players. So if you give Steph Curry Isaiah Thomas, he going to make that work. Hey, I'll just run off and shoot threes. You handle point.
Yeah.
You give him Shaq, that's an issue. Steph hitting those threes and then you got to guard the paint like that? That is a major problem. You can't say that for LeBron. But you can say it's a major problem because those are two massive athletes. But LeBron is going to be clogging up the paint. He can't do his high-flying wire acts if Shaq's calling for it in the post. But Steph can get a hell of a lot of threes. So my thing is that Steph is a better basketball player because of his mentality. And if I was starting a franchise, I'm taking Steph. He clearly showed he's a winner if they have the same amount of championships. I argue his percentage is better in the finals. Because LeBron
it is.
And LeBron with his freak athleticism in the soft East was just getting there with ease because he's the biggest, fastest dude getting there off athleticism. And yeah, he want to pound a rock, but he don't want to take the last shot. And that's another issue. It's not like Steph is some super killer man in the playoffs. Trust me, he had his moments where people was calling him out too. But the thing is that, hey, to each their own, I still think he's a better winner. And he understands the game better. And if I had a chance to, post-career, who would be the better head coach, even though it clearly shows that basketball does not translate well. People that play the sport cannot coach it. But if I had a chance to pick one, I would take Steph over LeBron because LeBron would do his philosophy of somebody just clogging up the middle and just jacking threes out there. And Steph Curry would play a more holistic, free running, and everybody knows their role type of basketball where I don't even need to score 40 tonight for us to get off. So for him to drop 50 the way he did the other day with such ease, he was toying with them at points. I think that showed a lot of people that, hey man, he's making this look easy too. He dropped 50 and he gave him work. So it was an efficient one. So yeah, man, I'll advocate for Steph all day. I don't know why it took so long for people to at least start giving his name relevancy in conversations, but if he did what he did at Davidson, this is why I give him so much credit. Because he took Davidson to what?
I didn't even know who Davidson was.
Exactly, bro. And it's not like that squad was stacked. It was clearly him. And that's when I started giving guys credit for when they hit the league, and because they played for a tournament team that people didn't know about. Like Jameer Nelson and what's that boy named Delonte West and them, when they was playing for that team, whatever the hell that was, George Mason, I think. Well, I don't know if that was them, but clearly they were nice enough to make a name for themselves in a tournament so that they could show that they're competent in the league. Wade made his name in the tournament, and so when Steph was doing that, I was like, hey, this is more than him just being the son of. This guy's actually wielding this team with this form of basketball. Then when he went to Golden State, it's the same free-flowing selflessness type of superstar stuff that I love. So I
hear you.
I would build my team around that. Give me Spoelstra and Curry. We've got issues. Right, we got issues.
I hear you. I hear you. I just think what most people amalgamate, and it's a subjective conversation.
Yeah.
So when most people are looking at this, they're amalgamating different things. Because I would agree that in a vacuum, Steph is a more skilled basketball player. So if we're just talking about skills, I would say Steph is a more skilled basketball player because he's in his 6'2" body. From a skill standpoint, he knows how to he can do more basketball things than LeBron can, I would say. But LeBron is 6'8", 260 and can dribble, pass, and shoot. So LeBron can impact more things than Steph because of the physicality.
Right.
And what a lot of people do is with LeBron is they just look at that and they combine that with how much he's won and his numbers. And then they automatically are like, okay, LeBron is just greater or better or whatever. But if you look at it contextually, I think Steph Curry is more skilled, but LeBron is just a better Swiss Army knife. He just impacts things more. But I hear what you're saying, and I hear what you're saying about all of that. I don't think that I would go the LeBron route either, but I don't know if I'd go Steph either. I would probably do like, Kevin Durant or somebody like that. But I hear what you're saying though. And what I don't like about this kind of stuff is when people apply that double standard to defend LeBron, and people always want to bring up stuff like they always want to bring up teammates and coaches and super teams to try and bring down other players to prop LeBron up, and then of course they'll spare no expense to bring up the numbers, but why can't we do the same thing with LeBron in the Heat or LeBron in Cleveland?
And check this out. It's every offseason he's lobbying for a brand new team to get the premium of whoever's on the trading market, whoever's in free agency. They accumulate there's no off moment with the LeBron.
Yeah, well, it's because
changing.
Yeah, it's because LeBron drinks his own Kool-Aid. So he listens to the media who always say because whenever LeBron doesn't win a championship or loses in the playoffs, it's always like, why did this happen? Oh, it must be because these teammates aren't good enough or this coach isn't good enough. Fire this person, fire that person, trade this, trade that. So LeBron heard that for so long, he now drinks his own Kool-Aid. So now he himself is, as you said, lobbying for wholesale change in the offseason every time things don't go his way. That's a media creation because it's so beyond the pale and incomprehensible to imagine a scenario in which LeBron just lost. Everybody else can just lose and we can call it a day. But if LeBron just loses, it's because something must have happened. Somebody must have got hurt or team. It's usually roster and coach is what I've noticed, is that's usually to blame. That's usually what's to blame for why LeBron loses in the playoffs, because of the roster and the coaches. And here's the thing with that. It's not that isn't true. It's that other superstars don't get that. So when other guys lose, no one's talking about the coach and the roster. They're just like, you didn't get it done.
Exactly.
But when LeBron loses, it ain't about him not getting it done. It's about the rosters and the coaches.
Somehow, some way, the salary cap works, and they're able to just completely shift an entire roster. Or even, like I said, it's every offseason, the name has changed. There's a new point guard in there. There's a new whatever. He's always got the best resources. And that's why I bring it up. It's an advantage for him. And so,
Yeah.
so every year when he's going to the finals, every year, that's why he's not winning every year. They got all the resources to get you there, but you got to be a ball player to take a game and win. And as we're all seeing what Jimmy Butler's doing, if LeBron had an inch of that, there's no stopping him in 8 of them. He wins 8. But because he don't have that in him, he only won whatever the hell he won.
Yeah.
And so that's my thing with LeBron. If he had that, then what Jimmy is showing basketball players is what they all is lacking nowadays. Y'all all lacking that. Jimmy Butler's coming straight out of the 90s and 80s on y'all ass. Now Tatum trying to get a tip back dunk and roar and stuff. It's like, oh no, it's too late now. Jimmy already showed you dudes that he's on a different level when it comes to being a competitor. Yeah. And LeBron, if he had an ounce of that, there is no stopping that human being. He was a literal freight train when he played for us. It was immaculate stuff to watch. And if he played like Jimmy then, you're not stopping him. Period. We win every championship. 1, 2, 3. We would have won. But since he ain't got it in him, he'd rather keep passing it. You know, I'm a facilitator, remember? I'm the greatest all time. Yeah, and he start facilitating.
He's the greatest Swiss Army. He's the greatest Swiss Army knife of all time. And like I said before, I will give him my greatest Iron Man award, the longevity award, the guy who played at the highest level the longest. But he'll never be the greatest player ever to me. And I don't think he's number 2 either. But I think, you know, greatest and best are 2 different things. Greatest is like what you were able to do and then your career achievement. That's why, like, you know, people say Patrick Mahomes already is a better quarterback than Tom Brady. But who's greater? Brady. Brady has 7 Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes cannot be greater than Tom Brady with just, 2? How many does Mahomes have? 2? So, you know, it's got you can't be greater if you don't win more in the postseason juxtaposed to Tom Brady. And so when it comes to great, yeah, LeBron still has that because numbers, MVPs, finals MVPs, stats, all of that crap. But better, I think if Curry continues to win at a high level in the playoffs and eclipses LeBron in number of championships and finals MVPs, why can't we talk about at least him being maybe better? But LeBron will always be greater because I don't see Steph catching LeBron in those numbers categories. And I don't see Curry, maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt Curry gets to a point where he's in position to win 2 more MVPs. And that's what these people look at. They look at numbers and trophies and counting stats and all of that crap. But skill-wise, I do think Curry's better. I do think that it is easier so long as the organization knows what it's doing. If it's a dysfunctional organization, all bets are off. But if it's an organization that knows what it's doing, it's easier to construct a roster around Steph Curry that allows him to be him while simultaneously allowing the other guys to also be them. Mm-hmm. With LeBron, you just got to surround him with people who can shoot in the corner and play defense. That's what you got to do with him. No post players, no guys who shoot perimeter shots. 3s or bust, and put in effort on defense. I think it's harder to construct those kind of rosters and win championships, which is why he's 4 for 9 or whatever his ratio is. But I will also, if I'm being honest, I say LeBron at this point is greater. So to Mace's point, I think what Mase said is kind of silly, but I have tremendous respect for Steph. I think the book is still out because if Steph wins more championships, you can continue to talk about that. And most importantly, I don't like the claim. These LeBron advocates who always want to bring up other people's teammates and super team this and all of that stuff always want to suppress LeBron's super teams and his great teammates and the things that went his way. Ray Allen hitting the clutchest shot ever in that closeout game in Game 5 against the Spurs in 2013. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Ray Allen doesn't make that shot, series is over. The Spurs are going to win that in 5 games. Ray Allen hits that shot, they go to overtime. The rest is history. The Heat win the championship. What if Ray Allen doesn't make that? What if Mike Miller in that same series in Game 7 doesn't make 7 threes? 7. I think Mike Miller in that game went 7 for 7 on threes. He had 21 points, 7 threes made, and attempted 7. Well, we don't want to talk about that because with LeBron, we ignore nuance. What about Draymond Green getting suspended for Game 5 in 2016? And Andrew Bogut getting injured, tore his ACL in Game 1 of that same series. And Andre Iguodala can't guard LeBron because his back is messed up. And then Steph Curry tweaked his ankle. Kyrie was boogieing all over him and hit the biggest shot in Game 7 in Golden State. So the thing that I don't like about LeBron is when it comes to other people like Kobe or Jordan, everybody wants to bring up nuance and context. But when it comes to LeBron, we got to ignore the nuance and context. And it's just about the result. No, we're going to apply the same standard. Or at least I am. I'm not going to give you that. So you can miss me with all of that stuff when it comes to LeBron. And the only reason why he's a greater player than Steph up to this point is because of his numbers and his MVP trophies. And, the jury is still out because if Curry continues to win the championships, and I don't know if that will happen. We'll see. But if Curry wins 2 more and has 6 to LeBron's 4, he will be Finals MVP if he wins 2 more rings because no one else is better than him on his team at this point. 4 Finals MVPs, they got ties in that. 2 more rings. Nah, we can talk about greater player at that point, in my opinion. But the LeBron zealots won't have it. The advocates will continue to advocate on his behalf. And I understand it. I'm just gonna say my piece. So there you have it.
Like I said, at me, bro. At me, dog. What I'm saying is, if the reason why I don't give him all that stuff that y'all be giving him, that's even for the old heads, because I don't ran into some old people that be sitting here justifying this LeBron stuff. I ain't hating on the guy. I think he's a phenomenal athlete. But like as I just mentioned, if you take Jimmy Butler's mentality, as you guys have coined him playoff Jimmy and all this other stuff, but just look at what he did in this year's playoffs. And you take that and you put that in prime LeBron's body. Now tell me LeBron doesn't win more championships. Tell me that. Tell me that he will be undoubtedly the greatest player of all time. People wouldn't even argue the MJ stuff no more. How could you? This guy is dominant on all facets. So since he doesn't have that in him, that's the part that everybody talks about. Oh, the killer instinct ain't there. The this and that. That's what because we're all witnessing, and everybody's just baffled. It's like, yeah, we haven't seen this since the Wade and Kobe days. We haven't seen guys take over in the playoffs quite like this. So just imagine if your greatest superstar had it in him. Then at that point, it'd be undisputed. It'd be undisputed because Jimmy Butler knows when to fall back. You're so great. You don't have to use your superpowers every moment. You're so good at doing everything, passing the ball, getting rebounds. I hear all these stories that people that play with him talking about how cerebral he is on the court and all this other stuff. Yeah, he know your ass need to stand in that corner. He gonna know everything he needs to do for your ass to stand in the corner. Oh yeah, he knows this guy's defensive tendencies. He watches all this film. Oh, he does that somehow to make his stats better. But none of it is to rip the heart out of the opponent. And that's my whole thing with him. And y'all can say that, hey man, he ain't got to have that to be the best of all time. Well, you must not know according to y'all standards. Because it's between him and Jordan. And Jordan had that.
To them, it's between him and Jordan. It ain't between him and Jordan to me.
That's what I'm saying. To the people, it's like, hey, if y'all want to add that up, y'all want to call Jimmy Butler Jordan's son for a reason. Because he's got that gene that LeBron don't. We would be calling that the LeBron gene. How he can just close people out. So, yeah, man, he's had the opportunities. He had the resources. He's a freak of an athlete. He is talented. I'm not taking none of that away from him. I'm just saying he had all the opportunities. 9 of them, or like you said, whatever. And his record indicates that of somebody who's average when it comes to getting there. and winning. Sorry. So and with somebody with such world-class athleticism, he should have won more. If y'all want to turn this into an individual thing, I'm not. I say basketball is a team sport. And so LeBron in his world is an individual playing a team sport. Steph Curry to me is a team player playing a team sport. And give me that 10 times out of 10. We're winning. We have a higher win percentage. So, but yeah, man, we can go on all day about this, man. Y'all done got me right at me. Damn it.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree with a lot of that. I just know, when it comes to that greatness, when it comes to the great stuff and the GOAT stuff, the factors that contribute to it all is what people look at in terms of how they evaluate it. But I just don't think that it's just a closed book and that Steph can't reach that. If Steph is fortunate enough to continue to play at a high level in 20 years of playing, let's revisit what has happened in Curry's career in year 20. But yeah, LeBron's been playing for forever. He's been playing for 20 years and he keeps putting up his numbers and stuff. So it is what it is. But I think what Mase is doing is recency bias. It's fodder for the channel for sure, but right now it's probably still advantage LeBron, even though I think that he is not what a lot of his fans believe him to be. So there you have it. But I'll go Team Steph all day on that, and we'll see what happens this year and the rest of the years as Steph continues to play.
We should have a tiers thing one day. Just get all sporty with it one day. But I gotta hear your top 5. Actual top 5 that would actually run and play.
Yeah.
And we gotta see what that is, because I'll be interested to see what your guys would look like against mine. Because I think my team, of course, I would win. Because I'll take Steph happily with your LeBron centered roster. So,
I probably have LeBron on mine, but I don't know. We'd have to figure that out. I would though. I don't know. We have to think about that.
That's what I said. That'd be interesting one.
I got to think about that because I might not. We'll see. I don't know. But either way, we'll go ahead and close out tonight's stream, man. That was good stuff. Shouts out to Mase. LeBron is not the greatest player ever. Nor is he the second or even third. Well, he might be. I don't know. I'm 100 with it, and I can substantiate my claims very clearly. But appreciate everybody for tuning into the stream, man. Another Constant Approach video in the books. My name is JV Wins. That is Dogon SS. As always, man, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the channel. We certainly appreciate the support. Let us know in the comments what you think about the commentary in our videos. We certainly appreciate that. Be on the lookout for Constant Approach on your podcast feeds. We're getting that set up so that you can listen to it on the go without having to, be on YouTube. Check Constant Approach out on Instagram at Conapproach, CONAPPROACH. And you can also find me on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. So as always, man, we appreciate the support. Everybody who has been subscribing to the channel, thank you very much. We continue to grow this community, and we very much look forward to doing this as often as we do and seeing the feedback that we get, agree or disagree. So as we continue to keep this train moving, man, we certainly appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video.
Yep. And the name is Dogon SS. You can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS or on YouTube at Dogon SS. And also Hurricane Dogon here on YouTube. Go like and subscribe over there, as you also like and subscribe over here while also hitting the bell for the notifications. All right. So thank you guys for joining us, and all the new subs and all the old ones. Thank you guys for holding it down and helping us get to our 1K goal. Goddamn. All right. And as I say on every part, guys, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player. All right. Don't let nobody knock you off your pivot. All right. And until the next time, guys, we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Yep. We certainly will, man. Our Miami Heat are currently beating the Knicks 93-90 with no Jimmy Butler, and Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson are both playing. So I'm liking it. I'm liking it. And yeah, man, we got Lakers Warriors game 1 coming up after this. So we'll, everybody watch that game and let us know what you think about our comments on LeBron. And you can even factor in your impressions of that game once it's over and hit us up in the comments and let us know what you think, bro. But until next time, we are going to go ahead and sign off. Another Constant Sports video in the books. Thank you for joining. We out of here. Peace.
Peace. Go Heat. Go Canes.